Hello, good morning, good afternoon, good evening. And this video is going to be about being suicidal. Just yesterday, um, the husband to Kelly Pickler, the young lady from American Idol fame, I think she had married a country music singer-songwriter named Kyle Jacobs. On Thursday, he made a post on Instagram celebrating his success in the music industry and an album he had worked on. And Friday, he shot himself. And of course, I don't want to seem like I'm exploiting that situation. So, my condolences to his family and loved one, my condolences to his wife and everybody affected by the situation. But again, suicide is something we have to continually keep talking about. So, from the outside looking in, because I obviously know nothing about them, one thing I can deduce is our lives are very compartmentalized. So, you have one compartment, you can be very successful. In another compartment, you can be have a very happy, loved, and fulfilling life. And then in another compartment, your life is falling apart. And the unfortunate thing is, one compartment can be so dire that it begins to implode and affect every other area. So, and then the other thing too that comes to mind is, do people actually cry out for help? For one, I am a suicide attempt survivor, and I know I did cry out for help. But in my method of crying out for help, others did not know I was crying out for help. So I guess this video is to initiate the conversation of suicide, obviously. The one thing we need to stop saying is, oh, everything looks so great. Oh, everything looks so great. That's just one facet of the person's life that looks so great. And so making a general assessment based on a facet of a person's life is inappropriate. One facet being okay is just one facet being okay. Another facet which is not seen could be falling apart. And secondly, when people change from their regular routine, it probably is something for concern. Or not, no, not concern, but something to look into. And my case in point, you and somebody always go out for bingo every Friday, and then suddenly they don't show up for bingo and they have a legit excuse, and then they don't show up for bingo and they have another legit excuse. I'm not saying it's now something to panic about, but it's something to look into. Why? What's this change for? There's no harm in looking into a change of routine. Why a friend of yours or somebody who is a loved one suddenly is having a change of routine. There is nothing wrong in looking into it. Not inquiring and trying to be nosy and trying to demand, like, oh, something is wrong. Just out of concern, look into the change of routine. And I guess also, learning how to politely intrude with care. If you love somebody, you should be able to politely intrude with care, not demand, not there's a difference when you're respecting the person while you're intruding versus you just want to intrude and domineer. They're two different things. I know when I was having suicidal ideations, part of me used to want somebody to intrude. Like, I really wanted somebody to politely intrude, and nobody did. And in my mind, I thought I was giving beacons or signals for people to pick on to intrude, and nobody did. And then I just gave up, like, well, nobody cares. I've given them signals and nobody's caring. Problem is, nobody picked up on the signals I was giving, because it probably was all in my mind. I don't know. So if there's anything I can say, if anything to draw this to make this a conversation starter, is how, if you're going through it, how do you give off the beacon signal to cry out for help? Because it's very easy to say, oh, dial 988 if you're going through, or pick up the phone and call for help. Yeah, okay. Most times it almost seems as it almost seems as unreal as saying, oh, if you're dealing with addiction, just say no, and just say no. Yeah, you think people don't know they can just say no? So similarly, when someone is having suicidal ideation, yeah, it's almost like you say, oh, just reach out for help. But who do you reach out for help to? I remember I was having a conversation with a friend of mine yesterday when we were actually talking about this Kyle Jacobs suicide incident. And one thing the person said was he has had his moment of compartmentalized trauma. Like, okay, one compartment is great, one compartment is doing awesome, and then one compartment is trauma. And he didn't know how to reach out for help, so he just stayed with himself. And that's the problem. Most people just stay with themselves because almost like, oh, who do I reach out to? I don't know how to cry out. I don't know how to call out. Excuse me, I don't know how to call out to somebody. And so I'm gonna just stay with myself. And it is staying with myself and trying to figure it out that sometimes becomes morbid, because you don't count on the internal trauma brewing to suddenly implode and become a suicidal ideation happening. So I don't think there's one answer that fits all. We're all still trying to figure this out. And so the only thing I can hope for is for a conversation starter to keep taking place. Conversation starter. And one of the conversation starters is, how do you cry out for help when you're going through? 2, who are your resources, your trusted resources that you feel you can reach out for help to without them judging or without them criticizing you? And then for people looking on the outside, how do you recognize when someone is going through? Because it's compartmentalized. So what you're looking at a facade. The facade looks great. Behind the facade is where the pain is. How do you recognize a hidden pain?